Hello, I'm Dr. Catherine Clements, the Ecology and Natural Resources Educator at University of Florida IFAS Extension, Sarasota County. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Life, Learning in Florida's Environment. Today we are going to meet with my friend Adelaide Mahler, and she is going to tell us all about owls in Florida, and she is going to do an owl pellet dissection with you. So exciting. Let's go find Adelaide and get started.
Hello, I'm Adelaide Mahler, the Environmental Education and Outreach Intern here at IFAS Extension, Sarasota County, and I'm working this summer with Ecology and Natural Resources. So today I'm going to tell you owl you need to know about owls. Here in Florida, we're home to 5 species of owl that live here year-round. That's the great horned owl, the burrowing owl, the barred owl, eastern screech owl, and the barn owl. And we actually have a picture of a barn owl here today. So as you can see, the barn owl is just one of the species we can find here. And they're raptors, which means they're bird of prey or are carnivorous birds eating other animals. But how do they do this? Well, owls are especially adapted to locate, hunt, and eat their prey. So first, if we're looking at this barn owl, we can see the face shape. And it's a heart-shaped owl, different than other true owls. But what's universally true about owls is that their feathers kind of act like a disc and funnel the sounds into their ears. So they can even tighten their facial muscles, making sure that they're picking up that sound even better. The other interesting thing about barn owls is that they can locate their prey using just the sounds they hear. So when sounds are emitted from their prey with scampering along the ground, those sound waves come in and reach their ears, which are at 2 different heights. So one's maybe located up here and one's down there. And they'll receive 2 distinct sound waves that they then use to triangulate their prey. So hearing is essential for an owl in finding its prey. The next unique thing about owls is their eyesight. So this is a barn owl skull, and you can see along the sides that their eyes are actually cylindrically shaped. Now for human eyes, our eyes are spheres, and they can move around in our head, so I can look to both sides without moving our head. But because owls have these cylindrical eyes, they actually have neck muscles that can move up to 270 degrees. So their eyes are locked in place, but they make up for it with their ability to move. Then if we look back at the skull, the other thing about cylindrical eyes is there's more depth. So they have better depth perception than we do as humans and can see things far away, but not so well close up. And then the last part of hunting, so we can hear our prey and we can see our prey from far away, is eating our prey. So they have this hooked upper beak that helps them dismantle whatever species they come upon, and they also have special talons that are hooked as well and can grab onto their prey and not let go. So their talons are organized in a way called zygodactyl, which means 2 face forward and 2 face backwards, and that allows them to grip super strong. So they have 8 talons in total, the 4 on each feet, and that talon strength is so strong that even like the great horned owl takes 28 pounds of force to pry it apart. So once they've spotted or heard their prey, they fly in and they latch on. But then how do they eat it? Well, owls have 2 stomachs. They have a granular stomach and a muscular stomach. So they'll swallow their prey whole. And if you're swallowing your prey whole, you're digesting the bones and fur or feathers as well. So that stays in the granular stomach, which kind of compacts it into these little things called pellets, while the rest of the muscles and tissue move on to be digested just like normal, as we would as humans eating any sort of meat. It'll just get broken down. But then the pellet remains in that first stomach, and every night, because owls are nocturnal, before they go out to get their next day's meal, they'll cough up these pellets. And these pellets can tell us a lot about owls' diets. So let's get dissecting. Let's look at an owl pellet. All right, so now we're seated because it's dissection time. So what do you need to get started? It's actually quite simple. You're gonna need your owl pellet, which is usually wrapped in aluminum foil, a plate, which is helpful just so you can see all that you're dissecting and picking out. I think it's nice to have some sort of cardstock or index card to lay out your findings and maybe assemble a skeleton or otherwise write down and identify the different bones you find. A toothpick or other sort of probe like this skewer is great for kind of excavating. And then if you are going to write anything on your card, it's nice to have a writing utensil. So if you want to come in, we're going to get started. So this is our owl pellet, and it's actually from a barn owl and totally sanitized. So we can open up the pellet without having to worry too much about it being clean, because it's totally fine to touch. So you can just move that piece of aluminum foil to the side, and then you're gonna start dissecting. So the first part is to make your first break. And you can see how there's usually a nice organic way that it's splitting open. So you wanna be careful and just tug along that seam until you have your owl pellet in 2 pieces. And then I usually put one piece to the side and start looking to see what I might find. Right here, I think, is the start of a skull. So I might start to pry away some of the hair and fur and start getting at that skull. And you do want to be really careful with owl pellets because their skulls are super fragile and can break really easily. The other thing I'm seeing in here is a leg bone. This is the tibia and the fibula together. And there's another bone in here that we may be able to extract. Yep, that's the other pair. So 2 bones, and that's pretty large for what you'll find. So it may be a larger rat or a mole or a vole. And we can keep peeling away. Here is a part of a scapula. See how fragile the bones are? But that's a scapula or your shoulder bone. And then in here, I also spy some ribs. So you can tell it's a rib by the curved structure. And then as you're picking apart these pieces, you may put them to the side and keep going. But my biggest recommendation is for you to be really careful because everything breaks so easily. So take your time and see all that you can find. There are also great resources that help you identify different bones. So you can pull a bone out and then reference a chart and see if you can figure out what it is. Another kind of bone that I didn't see right away is a vertebrae. So I think these are super cool to find, and they actually come in all different shapes because we have, multiple types of vertebrae within our spines. And if we're finding these vertebrae, we know that the prey that owls are eating are vertebrates, or organisms that have spines. So it can be cool to put aside these pieces, and then maybe you can reconstruct a whole skeleton. So with some Elmer's glue or any other non-toxic glue, you can lay out your skeletal structure So you have your backbone with all your vertebrae, you have your pelvis, and all these other bones to make a full skeleton that you can take home with you. Or you could do another approach and just lay out the different structures that you find. So you can see all these jaws, all these skulls, and maybe try to identify the specific species it comes from. So that's looking into a little bit about the owl. What is an owl eating? Is it had a mole or a vole for dinner? Or maybe it was a mouse? Maybe you even found a bird in your pellet. So there's some different ways you can approach it. You can be looking more at the food web aspect of things, or you can be looking more anatomically and asking yourself, what is this bone? And what does it look like in my body? Like, we have femurs too, we have skulls. How are they similar and how are they different? So that's what I have to share with you all about owl pellets and the owls of Florida.
Thank you for joining us today for our life program Owl Pellet Dissection with Adelaide Mahler. Oh my gosh, she taught us so much today about owls and the adaptations that owls have that help them survive, their digestive tract, and how to dissect an owl pellet. I hope you guys had so much fun watching this, and if you'd like to dissect your own owl pellet, you can find those on environmental education websites that you can order either a single pellet, or if you're a teacher or you have a homeschool or a library group and you want to do a program for more than just 1 or 2 people, you can actually order owl pellet packets that come with instructional materials, education, and the owl pellets as well. So I hope you had so much fun with us today and that you will join us again for another Life Program episode. Bye-bye.